I told the story many times when my Schwinn bicycle got stolen by my friend Richie D'Angelo, and I see D'Angelo riding it. He was the big kid. He was kind of the Fonz of the neighborhood I grew up in Brooklyn. And, he was the leader of the gang that was, doing things that were maybe a little bit against the grain. He was the guy that was flooding the engine of the Good Humor truck while we robbed the ice cream out of the side. He was the guy that was orchestrating the egg hunts, whenever we, would toss a bunch of eggs through the windows of buses. Always doing stuff like that. Minor criminal activity. So anyway, I see him riding my Schwinn bicycle, and I'll never forget this. The guy looks at me and he says, "Oh man, DeForest, if I knew this was yours, I would have never stolen it." Like it was okay to steal somebody else's bike, but I would have never stolen your bike. Well, what are you talking about? Here, take it back. It was great. My mother was very happy about that. But it's kind of crazy.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
On a beautiful Wednesday morning here in South Florida. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with Mike Lubitz. Very happy to have you with us for this edition of the Defo Show. It's going to be an old school Wednesday, as we have Tony Segreto scheduled to join us right around 8 o'clock today. That's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. And always great talking to Tony because this is my time of year. It really is great. We're zeroing in on the Labor Day weekend, which has tremendous significance for a lot of people. It was always a very difficult time for me from a number of different angles as a kid growing up, because all of this wonderful stuff was happening. You usually had like a doubleheader for your local baseball team, whether it was the Yankees or the Mets. With me growing up or anywhere around the country, right? All of these Cincinnati fans flocking there to Riverfront to catch a doubleheader. Labor Day weekend, you had a lot of other sports about to kick in. College football got underway last weekend here, but essentially really triggers its season this weekend, this upcoming weekend, beginning tomorrow night. With a slate of 5 or 6 games, a couple of which appear to be a little bit attractive in terms of a viewing and maybe a betting interest standpoint. Would you lay to 37? No, it's not 37. What is it? 17 and a hook with Ohio State over Notre Dame. You're gonna lay 17 and a half against Notre Dame.
That's a
lot
lot
of points,
man.
huh? Yeah,
that's a lot, man.
A lot of points. How are you, Mike Lubitz? I mean, were you a Labor Day fan? Because the other side of Labor Day, in the sports euphoria, I wasn't a giant tennis fan as a kid, but I became one. Maybe I would say my early 20s, I really became kind of a giant tennis fan. Although I watched it, but I started playing it in my early 20s a little bit, and then took a break for a while, and then came back and got into the sport when basketball on cement became a little bit prohibitive for a daily grind in terms of the shin splints and the knees and all the different aches and pains that you incur by playing basketball on what is a foreign surface for the game, or should be considered one. And so, I started playing tennis a little bit just to get a workout in without having to suffer as much pain as he did running full court basketball all the time. And, been a huge fan of tennis ever since. So you had the U.S. Open on Labor Day weekend. That was great. And, of course, the NFL season is right around the corner, but it was the return from school, which, as we discussed earlier in the week, I mean, the thought of going back to school in August, that's cruel and unusual punishment. August. In Florida, no less. Does any other state do this, or is everybody still pretty much going back to school after Labor Day? Because that was always the traditional benchmark where you would say, all right, that's it, summer's over, and now you had to go back to school. And because I hated school, I mean, just absolutely, I thought every minute was torture. That was not a very pleasant circumstance to come about. It was a time on the calendar where I had tremendous anxiety and at the same time all kinds of euphoria based on the sporting world. Now, we've gotten rid of the school part, at least for me. Working, of course, I mean, you get an extra day off, which is kind of the oddity that you wouldn't be working on Labor Day. Wouldn't that be a day where you worked overtime? Does that not make sense, Lubie? It's so crazy, isn't it?
You work harder.
It's insane that you would work, not work on Labor Day. I mean, that's the whole idea, right? You're celebrating the idea that you have a job, I guess. Yep. Labor Day, but always a great weekend, and it'll be a lot of fun celebrating this year because all kinds of different things are going on, including, as we said, just a gigantic trigger of activity in the sporting world that most people would have interest in, including, as we said, a big slate of college football. We'll get into that with Tony Segreto a bit later on. Tony's all in on college football. I don't know that I have any great perspective on it. It seems like you don't need to know much anymore. Doesn't it, Lubie? I mean, yeah, if you could find a sleeper team somewhere, but the big four are always the same now every year as a matter of routine. Well, was that always the case? Nah, there was a little bit more intrigue. I mean, Washington used to have some good teams,
Yep,
right?
yep,
They were
yep,
in the mix, and
yep,
you could count on a couple of teams from the Midwest.
yep.
Southern teams were always under consideration, and now it's really boiled down to Alabama, Georgia, since Mark Richt left for the University of Miami, and they've become or found a way to be a power, including the national championship last year. Ohio State is always a giant factor. And Notre Dame is always in the mix, although many people feel that Notre Dame is highly overrated this year and will not have a very successful season. I used to enjoy it, though, too, before when there was the bowl chaos and all of the committees decided. And literally by now, the Orange Bowl would have extended Notre Dame an invitation to play in its game, would they not? They were like accepting in August, in the past, and now that all plays out via various scenarios and mathematical permutations with conferences and things of that nature, and of course the college football championship is a factor in who are going to be paired up in these ball games, especially the major ones that used to all be played on January 1st, but no longer. So, and we have a national championship game. What 2026? Is that something I should be excited about? Mayo's put the under on 2 more years left in my life, which I don't know. Is he a kiss of death, Mike Mayo, to make that prediction? I don't think so. His prediction was way off on the Panthers.
Yes.
I think he eliminated Epicenter from the Travers. So he's been ice cold lately. So I'm going to feel like I'm pretty comfortably going to live at least another decade. We'll find out. I'll certainly be doing this, and I'm glad you guys are tuned in. Many things happening. 25th anniversary of Lady Di's passing. That's
Jeez,
been
really?
garnering a lot of steam. 25 years ago. Can you believe that?
Crazy. That's crazy. Oh my God.
What a sugar story that whole thing was, right? Prince Charles, kind of I don't know that he's the most attractive man in the world. I guess, being one of the royal family members and the heir to the throne probably would make you a little bit attractive. No, Louis, to some people. Lady Di, what was she? She was like a cleaning lady or something. Was she cleaning the room in his hotel when he met her? And he couldn't ditch this Camilla Parker Bowles. I mean, would you not have dumped her for Lady Di in a heartbeat if Lady Di was adamant about the idea that she wanted a commitment and wanted you to be a one-woman man? You wouldn't have dumped that Bowles woman? Are you kidding me, Lubie?
That was purely you never watched the show that's on Netflix about them, but that was purely he just wanted someone that was going to be his lesser. Like Di was taking all the steam and he couldn't take it because she does not compare.
Camilla Parker Bowles. I mean, look, this is very shallow on my part, Lubie, as you would anticipate, that I'm basing it strictly on looks. Looks don't matter. It's the person, Lubie.
Sure, definitely.
You know that.
Yes. Yeah. Have you seen my wife? She's gorgeous. Like, what are you talking about?
Looks
You're the
never
wrong
should be a
guy.
consideration. But if you're going to, look, I don't even think it's close to a draw. I mean, if you're going Camilla Parker Bowles, Lady Di, I mean, Lady Di wasn't, she was sort of attractive in a little bit of a different way. She wasn't like the prototypical babe, but a very attractive woman, you would have to say, and became even more so because of the way that she evolved into this role of being an international superstar and a person of interest to virtually everybody, including, unfortunately, this insane paparazzi that runs around in Great Britain trying to grab pictures all the time, which ran her off the road in that tunnel, and that was it, 25 years ago. I think that, is it today or yesterday? And Gorbachev also. Is this the anniversary of his birth or death? Mikhail Gorbachev, who, might have been the only guy that ever was, running the Russian Empire that even had the slightest bit of instinct towards, I don't know, is it fair to say, is humanitarian a word that you can't associate with any Russian leader? But he was a guy who knocked down the Berlin Wall. He was trying to do things with the West, and generally was considered much more of an ally than you would have to say the person who's in power today.
Just died. I think that was the whole thing. I think he.
Oh, he just checked out. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
it wasn't
he
an
died in
anniversary.
91.
He literally was still around, and he just passed yesterday.
I should check. I don't think I had Gorbachev. I know I didn't have him in the Deadpool, but there might have been somebody that did. 91 Gorbachev. Imagine cashing on that. You'd have never thought so, right? Had that thing on his head. That's what people remember him for.
Yeah.
Was that like some kind of birthmark? I don't know. I mean, it
Yes,
shouldn't be
yes.
poking. I know it's just an observation. It was just a weird thing. It was. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. Let's be honest. It's impossible not to say, "Hey, what's that thing on your head?"
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, he died. I guess he was a favorable figure. By Russian standards. In the eyes and minds of people around the free world, Gorbachev was a very favorable figure by comparison to anybody else. I mean, certainly Lenin and Stalin and this maniac that's there now, right? Who's like Kim Jong-un on blotter acid.
Yeah, Putin wants to go back to
Putin.
the 40s.
Why didn't he just, sign with the Red Wings and leave us all alone? Come on, Vladimir. Why don't you pursue your real dream there, which was to be in the NHL? I think it was. All right, anyway, those are a couple of significant things that are happening around the world. That's right. I didn't even realize it was just they were announcing his death, not the anniversary of his passing. He just checked out at 91, Mikhail Gorbachev. So a couple of things, associated. Naturally, we begin the day by talking about death. It seems like we killed you last night, right? I remember I was telling you had a giant price coming with the New York Mets over the Dodgers. And they had Walker going on the mound for the Mets, who's having a nice season there at 10-3, a very reasonable ERA, and looked like they were in there with a shot. And instead, the Dodgers win their 90th game of the season. Lubie, they've already won 90 games. They are 90
52.
and like 38 or something.
Yeah, they're 52 games up. Yep.
Oh, my God. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yes.
I know they spent a lot of money, and they pretty much went out in Yankee fashion. It's almost like Steinbrenner is running the team from the grave. I mean, they got whatever and whomever they could over the years, including making a deal for Mookie Betts. They got Freddie Freeman from the Atlanta Braves in free agency. They have dynamite pitching, where they've even incurred a lot of injuries and setbacks that normally would derail any team's run for a championship and or for even having a good season. And somehow they've managed to overcome all of that. And it beat the Mets 4-3 last night, despite our recommendation that you go ahead and explore the idea. And we weren't recommending that you send it in, Lubie. Just explore the idea of taking a giant price with the New York Mets, who had a legitimate shot of winning last night at home in Citi Field and end up losing that ball game 4-3. That's gambling. That's why degenerates are often considering alternative lifestyles and finding their way to non-extraditable countries. Because you could go broke doing this very easily. I mean, FanDuel never mentions that, right?
No.
In any of those ads, when you see like Hart or any of these guys that are Drew Brees is hawking gambling sites, they never mention the ridiculous beats that you take, where all logic points in one direction, and somehow you end up on the short end of the stick. Unless you can anticipate this sort of thing, which we were trying to do last night. We were giving you the Mets at like plus, I think it was like plus 190 or something. They're getting a big price, considering that they should have been favored in the game, I thought. And they end up losing because the Dodgers are on an outright roll. Speaking of losing, it's futile to tune in the local team here in South Florida.
Oh, God.
The minute I turn on the game, they're already down 5-0 in the race. I mean, it's like, who are they losing to today? That's the only question you have about the local baseball team here in South Florida, and it's a shame because it kind of detaches this whole area, a lot of it anyway. I mean, I know we have fans of many teams here in South Florida, and I don't know if it's as true in other cities. Are there as many diverse teams that are the subject and object of fans' admiration in other cities as there are here in South Florida, where nobody roots for the local team and everybody roots for a team that's from out of town?
Because that's the thing. Like in New York and Chicago and LA, those are big cities. They're transient. Yeah. You can't say they're less transient than South Florida, but they have fan bases. Chicago, people, both the White Sox and the Cubs have staunch fan bases. New York, the Mets didn't come around to the 60s, and they have staunch fan bases. Down here, like outside of the Dolphins, I mean, I guess the Heat maybe have it finally, like the Dolphins. None of even the Canes, it's a very like niche kind of a fan base. Like our fan bases are very small. the out of towner fan base is equal to ours, if not more. Like it just is. Like when you're around town, I see way more of other city teams than I see our teams. I rarely see our teams supported by people around town.
It's crazy. Well, even the Dolphins are afflicted with some of that. Unfortunately, is evidenced still. I will never forget this. Honestly, Lubie, and I've told the story many times when I was doing the pregame announcements on the field. And then the game would, just be getting underway. Like they'd be playing. I left the field just before the kickoff, and you had to go through like a maze-like series of tunnels to get to a place where you could actually watch the game. And I would kind of eyeball a section. I used to stand down there in the field with my son. He was very young. We'd go to the games together. He'd
Nice.
come down on the field with me, and his job was to scout out a section where we knew he could score a seat.
Nice.
Because we had the press pass, which gave us access to any place in the stadium.
Yep.
So we try and find an empty section in the club seats and figure, okay, that's where we'll take in the game. I wasn't really inclined to go up to the press box, and naturally, you weren't taking a kid up there. So, and I don't enjoy watching a game. If I'm going to go to a game, there were times I didn't mind at all being in the press box. It was nice. But I like to yell and scream. I like to get involved. I mean, if I'm going to go, I'm getting involved. I'm going to be cheering. I'm going to be yelling. I'm going to be making fun of guys, maybe on the fringe and possibly right on the borderline of getting thrown out of the stadium for acting in poor taste. But I don't mind doing it.
Exactly.
There was that thing with Eddie Jones where I lost a sponsor because I was screaming something about Eddie Jones, and I didn't realize his family was in the row in front of me. Apparently, they didn't think he was a bum. Some guy that advertised on the show happened to be watching this performance. I was a little whacked out. I think it was the first time I tried marijuana brownies in a long time. It wasn't the first time I tried them, but I was pretty inebriated that night. And I couldn't help it, but I like getting involved. I like if I go to a hockey game, I want to be yelling and screaming, you're a bum, so-and-so, which, is part of the fun of going to a game. Not to be obnoxious about it,
No.
but and so anyway, I'm going to sit in the stands there with my son, and the Dolphins were playing the New York Giants, and I'm walking out, through the tunnels there, and I'm just about to make my way into a place in the stadium where I could actually see what was going on, and the place is rocking. I mean, the stadium is actually shaking. This is now what is known as Hard Rock Stadium. Back then, Joe Robbie,
Yeah.
shaking. I mean, shaking from its foundation. And I thought, wow, that's a shame, because I also like to observe what was going on since I was going to do post-game commentary on the shows after the game. And I thought, wow, I missed a Dolphin touchdown. I wonder how the hell they scored. And then I look on the scoreboard and I said, wow, look at that. They made a mistake there. They put 7-0 Giants. And sure enough, it was the Giants who scored. And that was the thing that triggered this massive euphoric response from the crowd. You heard it the other day. I tuned in what little I saw of the Dodgers versus the Marlins.
Oh, good.
The Dodgers were clearly the team that had the fan base at what is it, Lone Shark Park? Lone Depot Stadium?
Lone Depot Park.
Lone Depot Park. Okay. Anyway, I mean, can you apply for a loan while you're there? Because
exactly, you may need
to grab a little home equity line here after this year of financial ruin. But nonetheless, I mean, it was the Dodgers that got the response, and it would be the Dodgers that were filling that stadium. Otherwise, there wouldn't be 4 people there if they were playing. Like here are the Twins in second place in the Central, a game and a half out. You think they would draw a crowd at Lone Shark Park? No way. No way. It's just atrocious, the lack of interest in the local baseball team. But it's a shame, too, because there's some good things going on. As you have, that race going on in the National League East. It's 3 games now. The Mets on top, even though they lost last night. Still 3 on top of the Braves. You have a real tight race in the Central divisions, although the Cardinals pulled away and are now 6 up on Milwaukee in the NL Central. The AL Central is very close, but nobody cares. Because nobody even knows who the Guardians are. What city do they play in? The Guardians.
Cleveland. Yeah. Oh, you're being serious or are you joking?
Yeah.
They were the Indians. Remember, the Indian is a slur or a negative term. So finally they changed it.
That portrayal of the Indian on the Cleveland Indians
goofy.
logo was, you would have to say,
it's goofy.
Cartoonish. I mean, you could easily see where somebody could take offense at that. In this day and age. Although it was fine for years and years and years, nobody cared. It's kind of weird. I mean, isn't it, where, somebody is absolutely defamed, even posthumously, because Kate Smith, right? Because she was singing those songs, and I don't know, what was she wearing, blackface or something? She had all these songs that were kind of racist in the lyrics, but I mean, they were common at the time, right? All of a sudden, Kate Smith in her grave, man, they turned her right over and put her face down, said, "You should lay there in shame." Decomposing body of a rotund Kate Smith. Get out of here. Best known for her "God Bless America" recording that they play before the Flyers games. In fact, didn't they used to wheel old fat Kate out there? And they never lost. I'm sticking with that, man. Who's the guy's name? Shiro was like the GM there. I would never, ever have a game that Kate Smith wasn't singing at. Even they should be able to maybe even recreate her body, but she ends up leaving after she's already left the earth. She has to decompose in disgrace.
still sing.
I don't know. He was a fat singer that used to show up on the Ed Sullivan Show. That was it.
So Andy's not wrong. Like you joked about this the other day. What is Pujols on? Or what is he not?
Oh my God! Yeah, he's on something.
He's hit more home runs than anyone at 90 in the history of the game.
Let's see. That's a big debate though going on right now. Whether or not Aaron Judge, if he gets to 62 homers, which is possible. What is he at? 51?
Hey, he just hit 51.
He'd have to hit 11 in the month of September. Not necessarily, a gimme. And they're not pitching to Aaron Judge anymore because the rest of the Yankees suck. And they're only 7 games up on the Rays, which is one of the more remarkable stories again this year. How the Tampa Bay Rays are sitting there. I think they're 71 and 57, Lubie. How is that possible that we could be this bad with the Miami Marlins year after year after year? We have 2 World Series championships, an aberration. One, we were all in on, and the other, was just the luck, the residue of unloading all of those people that won the World Series in 1997. And fortunately, some of those moves worked out because who was running the show? The last guy you would figure that would be building a team on prospects, one Dave Dombrowski, now with the Philadelphia Phillies. We love Dave. He's fantastic. But his inclination was to say, you know what? Today's the day that we have to win. We're not worried about tomorrow. He wasn't worried about tomorrow. But he managed to accrue back enough prospects, I guess. And it wasn't like Dave Dombrowski hit on every prospect because he drafted a lot of guys early on with the Marlins that didn't amount to shit. No. As much as we love Dave. But, man, when it came to acquiring veterans, he had a pretty good eye for that.
Yep.
And guys that were borderline maybe on the threshold of becoming damaged goods, he would embrace.
Yeah.
Right? Like Al Leiter.
Yep.
And they would be very functional for his teams. But nonetheless, somehow he managed to get back enough prospects to win again after 97 and 2003. And think about that now. That's 19 years ago, and we haven't done squat since. Haven't even. We had the one playoff appearance in that hybrid year with COVID a couple of years ago in the 60-game season. And you don't know what would have happened had they played the whole year out. Would the Marlins have gone into their fade? Every baseball team seems to have a little bit, at least a mini surge at some point during the season, where if you could just capsulize that portion of the year, whether it's a 10-game stretch or a 20-game stretch, you'd say, wow, pretty good team. But the Marlins have been unable to sustain that, and that's always the litmus test there when it comes to Major League Baseball. It's a marathon. 162 games, you are going to eventually separate the good teams from the bad, and unfortunately, 19 straight years, except for the 160-game season, we fall into the horrendously bad. Just atrocious.
What's even more annoying about the Rays is they actually don't keep anyone. Like the Marlins are just trying to keep people. They re-sign Alcantara. They are trying to keep this rotation together. They did give Stanton a deal. Like they try to actually keep people for a little bit and see, and they're just horrendous. The Rays keep no one. Like they don't extend anyone. They did Longoria that one time a long time ago. Since him, they don't extend anyone.
No.
If you're getting arbitration, get the hell out of here. Like their own fans don't know any other team. They get no support. The Marlins get like freaking sellouts compared to the support the Rays get. They get even less support than the Marlins. They don't have a stadium. That thing's a disaster. Yet they compete every year. That's what's even more annoying.
It's incredible.
Every year.
It really is. Not one time do you look and go, oh man, see, they finally caught up with them. All of this poverty and trying to do things while not being able to sustain any level of performance, through veterans. And look at all the good pitchers that they've let go in the last few years, and good players in general. I don't know how they do it. That's got to be among the most well-run organizations in all of sports. It should be the study of virtually everybody
Yep.
that is a sports executive. How on earth the Tampa Bay Rays are sitting there knocking on the door? I mean, the Yankees were having a sensational year. I know they've slumped and been, maybe sub 500 over the last 30 or so games. But nonetheless, I mean, to be 7 games back of the Yankees after the start they had and the enormous first half they had in the season, I mean, a tribute. You talk about, there's that commercial on TV. I think it's for The Athletic. Does anybody subscribe to that? That seems to have faded in terms of interest. The Athletic.
It was sort of a bust.
Tony was on with us, and he was like raving about it, right? And a lot of people were. It wasn't like he was alone. And they run this commercial where they have these people like showing up in this guy's life, and they're going through generic sports discussions, the kind of things that make me want to blow my brains out. And as one guy says, well, with all the superstars they have on the office, on the field, the problem obviously has to be in the front office. I don't know. Have you ever seen that spot? Right, and then there's the lady in the car, and she's discussing something, and this guy's just listening, and he's so happy that he gets The Athletic because he can just click a button here and read all of these tremendous debates. But if ever there was a front office that should be studied, and the subject of anybody that aspires to be even remotely successful in the world of sports, it would have to be the Tampa Bay Rays. And they've been doing this for a long time, right? Didn't they have that Dee Podesta guy that went to the Cleveland Browns? And he was like the big maca there. And they've had other guys, other executives that have gone up.
Yeah. Went to the Dodgers to be VP. Like, that's the problem, too. They've changed out.
Turnover in the front office. Yeah.
It's like, what the hell, man?
Who the fuck is running this place? That's what you have to wonder.
I don't get it.
Even Derek Jeter. I mean, he said, well, what was Jeter doing every day?
I don't know.
Going in there, well, let's see. We could do this. It's like nothing happened. Nothing.
Steal the guy from the Yankees that literally built the Yankees. Yeah. Steal him. Like, they tried. Ang's been in baseball for like 40 years.
Nothing. Is there a curse here? Is there something we don't know about the area that we know is South Florida? I mean, I don't know. You couldn't really consider it the city of Miami. I mean, the people around the country, we are Miami. Fort Lauderdale means nothing. Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach means nothing. It's Miami. Yep. And, there must be something to this. I mean, has to be something toxic going on here. Is it because Rachel Nichols lived down here for a while? I don't know. Curse Marino. They talked about letting him go to the Vikings. What, are you kidding me? The one organization we could count on, the one that we had, the Miami Dolphins, actually thought about letting Marino walk out the door and go to the Minnesota Vikings and end up like Joe Namath, sitting on a little Rams helmet there and wondering if he was going to get into the game. And when he did, it was going to be just a total, complete embarrassment. A shot fighter. Ugliness. All right, we're going to talk some football here. Very knowledgeable source. I mean, this guy's great. Chris Landry has a website that is just dynamite. And, if you're... Landryfootball.com. And he was a scout and does all kinds of stuff. He knows the colleges. He knows the pros. Always a great source of conversation about football. And here we have him on the threshold of the real beginning of the college football season. And now a week and a day away from the Bills and the Rams to open up the NFL season. So Chris Landry is going to join us. And then later on, we go old school with the man himself, the great Tony Segreto. That's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. Tomorrow we have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. And then, wow, Degenerate Fridays have never been more loaded for bear, as Lubie would say, as you try to figure out a way to describe the amount of information that we are about to impart and a number of people we're going to talk to on the show on Friday, Degenerate Friday. Mark Lawrence is back with us. The Greek has been giving out picks, although he doesn't offer a lot of rationalization, the Greek. What does he get him out of, a fortune cookie? Where the hell is he getting his picks from, the Greek? He's been winning, which is great. And we love the guy, man. He's a character, but I don't know. You'll say, hey, so what do you got for us this week? You figure, well, you know what? The Green Bay Packers have been playing pretty well. And he just goes, I like Green Bay, Cleveland, Philadelphia. Okay, good talking to you guys. Like, holy Stu Feiner. What is that? Wait, Greek, why do you like him? Does it matter why a guy likes a team? I mean, if a guy gives you, 3 teams and you figure, don't you just have to size up the source?
The problem is, what I was going to say, the problem is the logic can be right so often, like you talked about, and be wrong in actual results that in the end, if the guy's
like yesterday.
Results,
this guy don't even bother with the logic. Yeah.
Right.
Just takes a dart. Cleveland. All right. Chris Landry are going to join us. We will have a Degenerate Friday coming up on Friday. Mike Mayo is also a part of that. Later on tonight, too, we'll be out at La Spana's Original Hoagies. Had a good time yesterday. That was an interesting place, that Top Round. The sandwich shop, it's in Broward County here for those around the country and Fort Lauderdale. And they have some in Los Angeles. And the guy, fascinating. It's amazing to me. I mean, the detail and the depth with which people in the restaurant business approach their way of doing business and the food and everything. It really is fascinating. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock, especially when we get to talk to some of the people behind. I mean, the detail this guy had about pastrami was unbelievable.
I love it. The fact, and it's Eric. It said he's going to head down there just because of the way the guy talked. That's been and me and Sarni were talking about it. That's been my favorite part about doing these now more than once a week is the entrepreneurs, proprietors. And I don't know if I'm being mean, but I never understood the intelligence level and the science that goes behind running these restaurants that it does. Like from Kaizen all the way to now, everyone's had a story. And the way that it's not the business part that I get. The food, like the way that they cook the food and the way that they take care of it.
Incredible. Yeah.
So fastidious. It's so detail oriented. I never would have known that. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I never.
No, I mean, Brad over at Even Keel always amazes me when he starts talking about details, and pretty much true of everybody that we met along the way there. And of course, La Spana's Original Hoagies has here's the thing. I mean, Mayo gets all obsessed with his VNS and his crunchy bread, but the ingredients and the quality. Not that these other places don't have good quality, but La Spana's has a unique level of quality in all of their ingredients. So that'll be interesting if we can learn about that. That's 12 o'clock today here on South Florida Live. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And the good news is Mayo finishes off.
Oh, thank God.
His desire, his death wish, and desire for self-sabotage because he's going to be consuming the final sandwiches of this National Sandwich Month. And it is true. I mean, Sarni is a Svengali.
Yep.
Whatever he says, Mayo ends up doing to an extreme, right?
Yep.
If he told him to start jumping off bridges, Mayo would be like doing Greg Louganis off every bridge in Florida. It'd be incredible. Now, if we said, hey, Mayo, why don't you just jump off every pier, along the ocean here from Miami all the way up to like Melbourne, he'd tell us to go fuck ourselves, right? I mean, that would be a natural response.
100%.
And he'd be right. But if Sarni said, do it, all of a sudden you'll see Mayo with like goggles and flippers and a snorkel walking out on the pier. Yes. All right, we're coming back with Chris Landry. Talk a little football. Hialeah Park, great place. Always love talking about them. They really are sensational people. And big, spectacular Labor Day weekend on tap. They'll be open late. That means they're open till 5 a.m. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, as we have the national holiday coming up on Monday. And you can just party your eyeballs out there at Hialeah Park. All your favorite Vegas-style games. Players' rewards system there is fantastic. So get yourself a player's card as soon as you come in there. And if you're a high-end player at some other casino, or any other casino entity, any other gaming place, boom, you can go ahead and transition right into that level of card at Hialeah. They will give you that consideration, knowing that you've been sending it in for your entire life. So, hey, why not become one of us? That's what they're all about there at Hialeah Park. It's really a family affair and well run by the Brunetti family since its inception as a casino, which now spans over 9 years. Just amazing. You talk about time flying, Lubie. 9 years. It really does. It seems like yesterday. They just opened the place up, and it's been hopping ever since. Champion Simulcasting Room is outstanding. Brass Rail Bar, Crossover Cafe right there in the Champion Simulcasting Room. Great sources of food and drink, and then you can get stuff from anywhere in the facility, including Junior's Bistro downstairs. Get some of those Cuban sandwiches sent up, or whatever. If you're Lubie and you're high-end, pheasant under glass, not impossible. Just tell somebody you want it, and they'll find it. John Jr. might even make it himself, man. That's the kind of the way they are there. They want to make sure they take care of everybody, treat you like family at beautiful Hialeah Park. Check it out for yourself. And, of course, as we said, it's going to be a huge economic stimulus over the weekend there to be just sending it in at Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with Chris Landry. Talk a little football, old school with Tony Segreto coming up as well here on the Defo Show. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest. Coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
7:38.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on?
Great to welcome, and I'm Jeff DeForest, along with Mike Lubie. It's 940 wins, 1230 The Zone. Chris Landry, this is a guy who knows his stuff, has his own scouting consulting firm, Landryfootball.com. Director also of the NFL Combine. Chris, a man of much distinction, welcome to the program.
You have people more and more today that are not good people running organizations. You guys had one in Mike Tannenbaum that knows very little about football. He's an attorney and cap guy, but when you have a guy like that gets involved, then maybe he listens to people, but you can have guys like that screw it up big time.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show, here on this fine Wednesday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz with you on South Florida Live and all of our other platforms. And it's always great having this gentleman on any program that we're conducting, as always brilliant in his analysis. And it's funny, every time I see Mike Tannenbaum on TV, I guess I'm waiting for Tannenbaum to start embracing and endorsing a gambling site, start picking games like he was on the old Proline show, because I always think of Chris Landry. And the fact that, like us and many people here in South Florida, he viewed Tannenbaum more as a buffoon in his role as general manager of. He buried more teams. I mean, literally than any undertaker. You could go to Fred Hunter and the funeral home there, and you wouldn't find as many burials accomplished as Mike Tannenbaum did in his NFL career. We welcome Chris Landry of Landryfootball.com to the show. Chris, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, gentlemen. How are you guys doing?
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Oh, great, man. Yeah, every time I see Tannenbaum on TV, I think of Chris Landry. It's great. You're in my head, my friend. Thanks very much.
It's amazing, how the people like in the media and the fans who they think are good versus football people. It's amazing because people kind of just shake their head, but we know that if you can just kind of particularly at ESPN, but a lot of those places, it's just little hot take stuff. And, those are the people that they like. But in the football business, there's not much respect for him. But I will say this: he's an attorney, and he does a pretty good job with, as long as you have a football person guiding him, working under a football guy, doing cap stuff, and but that's, as I said back then, that's where you have a lot of problems. You have a lot of these guys that are not football people making football decisions. And, I always say, if I want to get legal advice, I go to an attorney. I want to get tax advice, I go to a CPA. I don't feel well, I go to a doctor. I'm not going to go to my neighbor and start to just say, hey, what do you guys think? You think I can deduct this? And oh, by the way, my elbow hurts. What do you think? I mean, it's incredible to me how sometimes these people come up with stuff, but we're seeing more and more of those guys there. But the ones that are successful that don't have football backgrounds, or at least listen, like the guy in Philadelphia has got an ego, Harry Roseman, but he doesn't really make any decisions. He's basically, it's football people decided, and it works. So anyway, enough of that. But that's a general philosophy.
As you were talking about that, I'm thinking it takes a long time to dig out from Tannenbaum. The Jets are still doing it, and the Dolphins have been trying to do it ever since, although they were already, both of those teams spiraling downward. Well, no, the Jets had success before Tannenbaum really dug his hooks into what was going on there. And it takes a long time to recover from these bad decisions. Why are people relying on such poor information, though, Chris Landry? You would think, scouting would be at a premium, and people that are in the business like yourself, that have the kind of proven track record of having insight. Obviously, you don't hit on 100% of the things. Nobody does, but it does strike me that that this would be critical to the success of any franchise, is to have good people in place in terms of trying to evaluate personnel.
Well, yeah, but that's the problem is, people don't know who's good or not. I mean, people think that, I don't want to be rude to, but, people think like, well, Kurt Herbstreit's an expert. Mike Mayock, let's hire him as a GM.
Yeah.
He's never scouted before. How would you, but again, they're people that get hoodwinked. We live in a highlight world, in a flash world. The guy that said, oh man, that's brilliant. They have no clue what, so you get a lot of these folks, they're good talkers, and they can talk their way and talk the ear into an owner or a decision maker, and they end up rising up and getting those type of jobs. And that's why that you can hoodwink some of these owners and some of these high level executives. But if you look at it, the good organizations don't fall prey to that. The bad ones, well, they do. And I think you look at the Jets, you look at the Dolphins, particularly how they've been run in the past, and you can always improve. The Raiders, made certainly a mistake. And I think, the Raiders have maybe done some things to correct it. And I think we see some of that. Look, I've been critical of, even a guy like John Elway, who's, a legend, one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever scouted. And, but he got it, and he had at least some experience, but he wasn't prepared. But he was a deity in Denver. He is a deity in Denver. And, he went through like 7 or 8 quarterbacks. You couldn't evaluate a quarterback to save his life.
Yeah.
Made more mistakes. And, yeah, look, they won. But when they won mainly because they let the coaches kind of run the draft. And all those defensive picks and really heavy involved picks were really done by the football people, the coaches. And Elway, kind of, used his power on the quarterbacks, and it was a disaster. Other than, convincing and recruiting Peyton Manning to come there, which is all him. I think mostly Elway. It wasn't like he, found this Peyton Manning out of nowhere. I mean, he's already a Hall of Famer before he went to Denver. So I just think those things come in a lot. I think also too, it's a lot of flash, and you go and sign some big name guy, and then it doesn't work out well. You throw the coach under the bus. It's great. I mean, everybody loved our free agent class. It's very, very superficial. But it's hard when you don't know. You don't know when you don't know what it takes on the inside to build a team, build an organization, build an operation. Some other things look pretty good. Look, if you ask me how to build a marketing firm or how to build another business, construction business, how the heck am I going to know? I mean, you can come and throw a spiel at me, and I, say, that sounds good to me. Hey, let's go with. But I don't know. I don't know the business. That's the difference. And I think the consistent organizations, they basically are steady as you go. They do good things. They don't buy into the hype, and they have stability because they have a good foundation.
Chris, and I do want to get into the NFL with you, but the college football's here. It started last weekend, and we get into prime time this weekend. The same names you keep hearing: Alabama, possibly Clemson could return to prominence. Georgia, the defending champions. The one name I'm not hearing a lot about, even though they racked up in the transfer portal, and they have a coach that was that other guy in that conversation every single year, Lincoln Riley. To me, the one school that can get there with Alabama, Georgia is USC. They have the money. They can own the West Coast, we know, whenever they have any kind of prominence. Lincoln Riley is an offensive guru, and he's been smart to be able to make good defensive hires. What do you think of USC this season, not in the future, this season?
Oh, I don't think they're I mean, in the Pac-12, I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be good, but they're a few ways away from being, a team that can challenge for the playoffs. So let me say this. You only got really 3 playoff caliber teams, and college football is very, very chalky. But you got 4 spots. So you can probably throw a dozen teams in the mix for that 4th spot. Well, that 4th spot, whether it's like Cincinnati or Michigan last year, typically every year it's going to get thumped in the semifinal game, but they at least could make it. I think USC can get there. Let me tell you a little bit about USC in the coaches area. And you're right. That program can do anything anybody else can do. But the Pac-12 and the money, what is going on in the shift in college athletics, so the rapid shift, they felt like going to the Big Ten, that it was not a we'd like to do it, we have to do it. They felt like with the Pac-12 money up against the SEC and Big Ten money, that this is their quote, we have no chance of competing for a national title.
Geez.
Because they look at they don't have the support staff, the facilities. The facilities are good at USC, but like, I don't know if people know this, but like you look at like the support, you look at the Florida support staff, and look at what Miami's trying to do, and USC just hired 2 people this offseason from LSU's graphics department in recruiting. LSU's got 12 of those people, and they just hired their first 2. They're so far behind. Now that doesn't guarantee you a win, but when you are that much behind in terms of facilities, and we've talked about that with Florida State, and how they've fallen off with Clemson and others. That's where it kind of was with USC. Do you realize that they're going to make not double, 3 times more money once they go into the Big Ten as they will in the Pac-12 TV deal alone?
That's crazy.
So they are a player big time. I don't think they are this time. The other thing on Lincoln Riley, good offensive coach. His defenses have been at Oklahoma. Every time they get into the playoffs, they get drummed. And he going into the SEC, State at Oklahoma, I don't think they would have gotten out of it. They would not have advanced in the playoffs. They in Oklahoma is an elite program. So the thing that has to change with Lincoln is he's going to have to put more emphasis on the defensive side. And if he doesn't, then as much resources as they have, it's not going to be any better than when Oklahoma made it and got drummed every time. It's just they were built like a Big 12 team. And if he felt like that's what he needed to do to win in the Big 12, that's fine. But if he's going to take the next step, and I think he can win in the – heck, it may be sooner than later he can win in the Pac-12. But if he's going to have make the playoff and beat somebody in the playoff, then those elite programs are going to have to slip, or he's going to have to figure out a way to play better defense. And that comes with playing more complementary ball on offense, where it's not, a mile a minute, being able to run the football, recruiting better on defense, everything that he does as a head coach. He is an offensive coordinator who's as a head coach. He recruits on offense. The practice is scheduled based on the offense. Well, you're not going to win championships if you don't at least pay attention to the defense. Alabama has opened up their offense, but their defense is still very good. And the elite teams still can do that. You mentioned Clemson. Clemson in the past has had good offenses, but they got some big war daddies on defense, or had, and they've slipped a little bit. That's the difference that it's going to have to change. So, yes, he can do it, but he's going to have to make that change in my view.
Chris Landry, our guest here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mikhail Lubie, Lubitz, Landryfootball.com. I logged on to the site here before Chris joined us on the show during the break here. Fascinating stuff, as you can tell. And a wide variety of things. If you have any interest in football whatsoever, Landryfootball.com, an absolute must. All right, there's a lot of euphoria and a lot of anticipation, excitement here in South Florida. We're talking about Lincoln Riley going to USC. And we saw a lot of people lining up in his corner there among players from Oklahoma and other places, and a coaching staff coming together. Mario Cristobal trying to do similar things here in Miami, resurrect what was once a long-term glorious past. What chance do you give him, Chris Landry, of actually bringing this about? Because every time we brought in a coach, going all the way back to Larry Coker, taking over the reins many, many years ago, everybody thinks, okay, this is going to be the guy. Is Mario Cristobal the guy, and does he have the goods to pull it off here in South Florida?
Mario understands the program. Mario is a good recruiter, and that's got to flip because, when they were Miami as, the great Miami teams, they were great because they really got all the kids in South Florida, and then they called it the state of Miami, and they did a phenomenal job, and they developed one. Things have changed, and I think very, very quickly they change. Facilities, and they've worked to upgrade that, and I think that kids today, they don't know Miami's good. In fact, they don't even have a clue that Miami was really good, and they read about it here, but they weren't around. So with Miami, and you saw everybody, the elite programs that had great facilities, and they're doing it better. Alabama wants to go into South Florida and get the best player there. They're going to get them away from Miami. That's what they've done. That's got to change. And I think Mario can do that. The thing that is a little bit different, Larry was just a guy to replace, Butch, and the program was in great shape. And Larry just he just didn't wreck the car that year. He may have gone on the shoulder a few times, but he didn't wreck it, and they won. But then the longer he had the vehicle, it's like having the kid that's just not, he didn't wreck this time, but look out, further traffic, you're going to be in trouble, and he did. And then the program just regressed and got into problems. Here's the thing that gives them a better chance. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to give publicity and mention names, but the big booster that has decided to put a lot of money into the collectives and the NIL to make a huge difference. It looks like Miami is jumping in. Hey, look, we'll embrace this NIL world, and that could make a difference. So it comes down to personnel, and I do think Mario is the right guy to build a program back. Now, look, is he a great in-game coach? He struggled some at Oregon with that, but there's no question that he took that program. I got to tell you that when he was Oregon, very quickly, when they had hired Willie Taggart, they were just dumbfounded at how bad the program had regressed at 1 year under Willie Taggart. And when he left to go to Florida State, they were dancing in Eugene because they thought Mario was – and then, of course, for Florida State fans, I know Mike is one. I feel bad.
Yeah.
But it was a disaster. Mario was outstanding, and he did a good job at Oregon. Not a great in-game coach, but a really, really outstanding recruiter and a program builder, and he corrected a whole lot of mess that people. There was a lot of spilled milk at Oregon. From the strength coach disaster and how that played out and the problems that it caused. He cleaned that up really quickly. So he's got pedigree. He knows what an elite program looks like. He's not Nick Saban, but he's been around that program, and he's going to try to do what Billy Napier is trying to do at Florida: build a program that is similar to in the structure that how Alabama or Georgia does it. Now, how well will he do it? Well, we'll see. They're not those type of programs, but if they can put the type of money into it, they can. I am interested. I don't know. Maybe you guys can inform me on this. I have heard different things about them trying to look at getting a new stadium for the school. I don't know where that is. I think that would help. But yeah, no, I'm open. I'm excited. And here's the other thing. The ACC is just so much room to to make a difference. There's a reason why Pitt has won the division. It's because, they do a pretty decent job. They coach well, and there's nobody on that side that does anything very consistently. North Carolina has really good facilities, but they're not great. And you absolutely, if you're Miami, with that division, the way it's set up, Florida State's got, and everybody in the Atlantic's got to look up to Clemson. But not looking up to anybody in the Coastal. The Coastal can be yours, if you do things right. So I'm excited to see what they can do. I don't expect miracles this year, but I'm curious to see how it develops.
A treasure chest of knowledge and insight into football, all levels. Chris Landry, Landryfootball.com. It's a must for you football fans out there. Chris, always a pleasure, my friend. We'll have to have you back soon. Talk some about the pros as we get into the season here, either just prior to or just after it starts a week from tomorrow. But thanks so much. Always great stuff. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys, and enjoy the great long weekend of college football.
Yes.
And the football season's here, so enjoy it, guys. I know I will.
All right, we'll talk
Thanks
soon,
so much.
Chris.
All right. Thanks a lot. Chris Landry, man. That guy's great.
That guy's so good.
Yeah, he is great.
Just sit there like,
He's not afraid to say things, and a very realistic picture he painted about the University of Miami. If you wanted some sobering thoughts that also still had a lean, towards encouragement, that was the way and encapsulates what's going on here at the University of Miami. No, Lubie? Would you agree that was just a very fair assessment of where the whole thing stands and an illuminating picture that, listen, nobody says it's going to be easy. Everybody's optimistic, of course, but, the one thing that's out there, and it seems like a short-term, or like a low barometer in terms of the standard that people are looking to see applied again, which was national championship contention every year and the likelihood of even winning it, to go and win the Coastal in the ACC.
that's it. Yeah. Focus on your division.
Grab that first. Right.
Yes. And Cristobal will do that. Cristobal will recruit. Cristobal is going to make the program, give him money, what Jimmy tried to do 40 years ago. Cristobal is going to make them be disciplined. They're going to be smart, and they're going to compete. My problem is once they get back to that level of baseline, can they take the next step? I don't know. He's never done that. He's good at getting the program to being competitive and being a conference contender. He wasn't able, and he had talent last year that they should have been in the playoff. They should not have lost to Utah twice by like 40. And to me, that's where he falls off. But UM's not there yet. UM is trying to matter again, and Cristobal definitely can do that.
Did you, kind of deduce what the real key was? What's the guy's name? Ruiz? Chico Ruiz, the guy?
My problem is I hope they're not counting on him. Like, I hope the Ruiz thing is fun for now, but I hope behind the scenes, and this is where Tony doesn't talk about it, but it's why I believe that they will come back, because Tony has this wry smile about everything. You're not having that smile for Ruiz. Like, one loudmouth jerk-off, unless it's T-Boone Pickens, who actually wasn't loud. T-Boone Pickens was behind the scenes for like 30 freaking years. No one knew T-Boone Pickens existed until he single-handedly bought a stadium. The loudmouth, whatever, we've seen in Miami doesn't work. Like, that's the guy that's really in it for himself. And eventually, when you're in it for yourself, you do things that will get you in trouble. And even in NIL, you can get in trouble. So I'm hoping for Miami's sake, he's the face everyone thinks about, but there's 4 others in the background that really don't want the attention that are really doing it. And that's what I think's happening. Like, he's getting all the credit. His origin story is really weird. Like, the fact that he came out of nowhere and as a lawyer is a billionaire, that's not a thing. Like, we know lots of wealthy lawyers. They're not billionaires.
Only, Nevin Shapiro, my friend.
It's just weird. So I think he's the guy, and he wants the attention.
It's Nevin Shapiro without the Ponzi scheme, I believe.
That's what it feels like. So I'm for Miami's sake. I think there's other guys behind the scenes that will get it done.
All right, very interesting. All right, we're coming back with more. Tony Segreto joins us here in just a couple of seconds here. In fact, we're a little overdue to get Tony into the show. Here he is.
Hello,
Tony. How are you, my friend? You all right, baby?
I'm doing awesome. I'm listening to all this. I'm listening to all this conversation. I find it quite interesting.
That Chris Landry guy is great. I don't know if you're
familiar
with Chris.
He seems like he knows what he's talking about. Yeah,
wow, no, he's very good, and
for sure.
He's not afraid to call a spade, as they
no,
say.
You know what? And I think that. I think there's realities here. I think we need to take a step back. Listen, you know how I feel. I went to school in Miami, and I'm close to the program. And listen, everybody's optimistic, but there's a reality here, and here's going to be the test. We open up against Bethune-Cookman. It's like a scrimmage, okay? It just is, but it's a good scrimmage. It's one where Mario gets his feet wet. Being a head coach, all the other coaches, Al Golden is defensive coordinator, all the new coordinators, everybody's new, so it's a good little. We're going to have a little test program here, and a dress rehearsal. Texas A&M, see how they line up against Texas A&M in a hostile environment. And then we're going to get a much better feel of how this team is going to react in those moments and how prepared they are. So that's the reality here. And I think we go from there. We're going to find out a lot about Mike Norvell and Florida State this week against LSU. If for nothing else, because I'm not sure how good LSU is going to be. But Brian Kelly's had a good track record. But Brian Kelly also has a track record of not doing real well under the lights in a big game.
Yep.
Now, what's it, a 3-point spread?
Yes,
3 points. Are you getting like 6 somewhere?
I got 12 actually. No. I got 3.
Okay.
I got 3.
And which side do you want? Obviously you have an affinity for FSU, but most people think LSU. The people we talk to, which are 2, think it's LSU in a blowout. In fact, Josh Booty, who you probably met when he was down here with the Marlins and maybe other times, but he brought it up out of nowhere when we were talking to him on a podcast. I just said this is the game of his lifetime. He can't believe this line is only 3 points with LSU, that they're going to annihilate Florida State. And then Lubie was bolstered, of course, by that victory over Duquesne, which we're not even sure. Does that even count? Is that considered an exhibition?
I understand why he's optimistic. Listen, this isn't about who they beat. This is about how they beat them. And they didn't listen for an FSU team to not have, how many, did they have any penalties at all?
They had 3.
They weren't playing a team, Tony. Duquesne doesn't even have a football team.
It doesn't matter. In the past, in the past, they would have had 10 penalties. They couldn't be playing us. They would have had penalties.
Easy.
So, I think they had energy, and I think we saw that they have 3 really good running backs.
Yeah.
And, again, it's, they're under the lights again. and listen, I heard 2 distinctly different views. You talk about being, whoops, I almost
don't hurt yourself.
Right here. Yeah, I am.
Good.
Hello?
I don't want you to collapse on this thought.
You're fine.
I got
It sounds like you're defending Lubie's position.
Don't hurt yourself in doing it.
Being Italian, you got to use your arms. But
I understand. You don't want to knock over the gear.
Different analysis. You talk about diametrically different analysis on the Notre Dame Ohio State game yesterday that I found fascinating.
All right.
The one was, do we need to go to a break?
Well, yeah, hold that thought, because Lubie's been droning this music in the background here since 8 o'clock, which Landry, he does go into a lot of detail. We only ask him like 3 questions. He was on with us for like 20 minutes. He's great. But, so we went a little over, and we've been trying to throw this break. So let's hold that thought. You have 2 different platforms on Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And I believe you're about to make a case, Tony Segreto, for Florida State with the points against LSU, when many degenerates are just absolutely practicing their moves to do to Kazatsky all the way to the windows, as they're going to be cashing big tickets on the LSU Tigers. All right, coming back with more. Old School gets underway officially in just a couple of minutes here on the Defo Show. Mike Lubie Lubitz, Jeff DeForest, and the great Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. And we'll actually begin officially with Tony in a moment. Now that. Do we need to have an official beginning? I don't think so. It's our show. It's 8:07. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right. It's like we were just bar mitzvahed here, and now we can officially get into it. Tony Segreto, a little old school.
Are we on? Are we on? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Lady.
That red light meet, the camera's rolling. We have Mike Lubie. I'm Jeff DeForest. It's the Defo Show. It's Old School with Tony Segreto. Tony, of course, the leading broadcaster in South Florida history, widely celebrated for his Hurricane Andrew coverage, where he was very heroic.
I saw for like the last 2 weeks has had Tony in it.
Tony, Kelly Craig, and Norcross were the three musketeers there. It was great.
In fact, I'm doing on Friday morning. I did a bunch of interviews for different locations and radio shows wherever on Hurricane Andrew this past week, and then Brian Norcross actually got a hold of Kelly and I, and we're doing a podcast with him on Friday morning on Hurricane Andrew. So it's been 2022 has been an interesting year for me in that it's 30 years for Andrew, and people were wanted to hear about that, and it's 50 years for the 72 team, which has been fun. So so anyway, great to be with you guys. So much to talk about. I'm so excited. It's just it's going to be a great day, great weekend. In fact, right after this show, I'm doing an interview we do a series for Orange Bowl called Orange Bowl Huddle, and I'm doing an interview with Mark Packer, the ACC Network. Yeah,
very nice.
But I saw yesterday, I heard really two distinctly different approaches to the Notre Dame Ohio State game. And the predominant thought by 90% of the people is that it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be just an absolute walkthrough. That's 17 and a half. What is it, 17 now or something, Jeff?
Looking at it here, Ohio State.
I think it's 17.
Ohio State 17. I have it 17 even, but that is probably yesterday's line. So.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's trending slightly downward from 17 and a hook.
They're thinking they're going to go blow by that. But so anyway, so that was the overwhelming thought. And then I heard interesting from two former players talk about this game, both of which have no skin in this game whatsoever. Talking about how if Marcus Freeman can somehow get sustained drives with very little mistakes and get into the fourth quarter, regardless of whether they win, if they get them into the fourth quarter, it's a win for Notre Dame for not being blown out. So I found that kind of fascinating. It's going to be curious to see how these games play out. I'm curious on Florida State and LSU. Georgia, Oregon really intrigues me. I think even we're going to have Ed Garcia a little bit. I think Michigan, Colorado is going to have some interesting. I'm going to see how Michigan looks. People laugh about Florida State over Duquesne, and I get that. But there was no mistake that Florida State had energy. They looked different. They carry themselves differently. Now, will that carry over to LSU? And what happens when a mistake occurs or a penalty happens that sets them back after a big play? That's how you see whether a team has learned how to take that next step. That's where you really find out if they can handle that next step, or are they just going to shrivel up and go back into their hole? So we're going to find that out. But, I'm not so sure we know a lot about LSU either. I mean, Brian Kelly still has some controversy at quarterback, and what's he going to do there? Fans are still trying to embrace him there. I'm not sure he's got the culture down yet. And he's going to have the fans on his side for sure. Is the game at LSU? I didn't even.
It's at the New Orleans Superdome.
It's at the Superdome. So it's at home.
LSU.
I think it's not as massive as a home game, but with the voodoo and the way that the New Orleans people have just been there last week, getting involved with LSU. I mean, this is. I mean, it's not a neutral site. That's for sure. I mean, we're talking. Just heavy odds. It's almost like that poor girl that was playing Serena, having a crowd of 23,878, 100% against her from the very start.
Let me tell you. First of all, I want to talk about. I want to go into depth about that Monday night match with Serena. I thought that was so good, so spectacular. I thought that I thought the whole package was. I thought she handled herself well. I thought the production was fantastic. I mean, seeing President Clinton with Dr. Ruth, I thought was the most hysterical thing.
You didn't catch Tuesday's show then, Tony. You must have been
working. What? You didn't like it much?
No, I mean, it was fine. I had a little bit of a different viewpoint on it. That's all.
What cynical viewpoint could you have possibly?
Oh, I mean, she borrowed that outfit off the Fabulous Moolah. I don't know if you remember the great wrestler, the Fabulous Moolah, but I mean, what was that? I mean, it's a tennis match, for God's sake. I'm not expecting Ric Flair to.
I yelled at him. What do you mean?
Anyway, but here's the thing.
And a hand-picked opponent. I mean, Don King couldn't have arranged this any better. I mean, for like an early Mike Tyson bout.
So we see what happens tonight, and when she plays the number.
No, she goes down tonight. That's it. But it was good that she won. It was good that she won that match because it would have been really horrible if she should have lost. I mean, this thing was handed to her like an hors d'oeuvre platter by this poor girl who really wasn't ready for the occasion and probably isn't that great of a singles player anyway. But she's playing a number 2 seed tonight. Has been in a little bit of a slump. She had a real good match. Her first match looked like maybe she had rebounded. Confiate, I believe is the name. If Venus she loses tonight. She loses tonight. And Venus is out already. She's gone. She got blown out.
If Venus wins tonight, I'm going to call
you. Mean Serena?
Serena. If Serena wins tonight, I'm going to call you up first thing in the morning.
You know what? We could make a wager on this. Maybe we get Edgar. How about a dinner at Texas Roadhouse?
There you go.
Bet on this thing.
What
do you think?
Yeah. There he is.
You'll be getting off light, Tony. If it's only the two of us and we go to Texas Roadhouse, I mean, you're talking about like no money for just Ed, delicious steak dinner. There's Ed Garcia.
We're leaving DeForest outside. His cynicism is overwhelming. I mean, I can't even. It's like, oh my goodness gracious me. Just take it for what it's worth. Good morning, Ed. Hey, big weekend here. Big weekend. Texas Roadhouse has got to be raring to go. This is going to be amazing.
Yes, it's going to be a huge weekend. We got college football. It's Labor Day. Here in Florida, there's a little bit of mixed weather, but, you have a couple of options. You can come in and get these big platters. You can get a normal to go. Come in and join us and see the line dancing, see some college football. We got 9 TVs, 9 taps with the coldest beer in town and some really, really great specials. And we are doing something unique. I can tell you for sure, all the restaurants on the East Coast and South Florida are opening up for lunch on Labor Day. And a couple of people have to go into work and do some stuff. And, we make that option available to come in at noon and run some really, really cool specials. But each one is a little bit separate, but something to check out and give them a call.
That's great. And, you talk about the 9 taps. And for those of you who know about draft beer, what's critical about these 9 taps is not only are the lines chilled, but the lines between the keg and the tap are not long. So that means it's really as fresh as you can get it, and they're super clean. They take care of these. I mean, I have looked at them. I'm a guy who loves draft beer, and they have not just 9 taps, but 9 taps of really great beer selections. I mean, you're going to have your standards there, but you're going to have some really interesting craft beers there.
Nice.
some high-end alcohol ones, and then some low ABV ones. So I think that with your burger and fries and maybe a couple of great appetizers, and you're sitting there watching your games, you can space it out. You got a whole day of football. You got that noon kickoff with Michigan, Colorado.
That's right.
You got that 3:30 Miami Bethune-Cookman game. You also got the Oregon, Georgia game, and then you got the games at night. I mean, you don't have to leave. Your butt's going to be printed right on that stool the entire day.
It's going to be a great day. This weekend's going to be absolutely fantastic. Look forward to seeing everybody, coming in and visit Texas Roadhouse. Make sure that if you don't have the mobile app, get the mobile app. And if you can't make it in, don't forget about our butcher shop as well.
Hey, Ed, I got to ask you, how big has that mobile app become for you guys in terms of getting people on board to use it, and how well has it worked for you?
Oh, absolutely. It is a absolute game changer. Just eliminates, having to call, trying to get through. You can easily put yourself on the wait. I was in Michigan this past weekend, and fortunately I used the app. I just got done moving my daughter into the dorm room, and I went ahead and, put myself on the app to go to Texas Roadhouse. And good thing I did, because it was 45 minutes. So by the time I pulled in, I waited about 5 minutes and got that and had a Frosty in front of me in no time.
There you go. All right, Ed Garcia. It's gonna be awfully strange for him. He's gonna have to get some Michigan State garb in his closet for his daughter.
Nope, one sock. That's it. One sock.
Laying 30 in a hook at most places. I do have to add this in, Ed, because it always makes us feel good. We're so proud to represent Texas Roadhouse here with Tony on the show and on the show in general. And then we have our other little enterprise is a food show. And the gentleman behind it has that Let's Eat South Florida page on Facebook. So there's a thread working on Texas Roadhouse. And not only do they mention the app frequently and say this is a sensational innovation that all restaurants should adapt, but on top of that, you'll see about 3 or 4 or 5 comments in the thread that have quotes saying, "and that fresh baked bread," and then 3 dots, and it's attributed to Tony Segreto, and it blows my mind. I mean, the impact of what Tony's been saying about this bread.
Oh, God.
It's awesome, great stuff. I appreciate you guys.
I love you more.
A lot of fun, a lot of fun. Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants.
Bye-bye.
They do a great job. I mean, the other thing that's always said too, and chain has a negative connotation in the restaurant business for a lot of people, because people like to support their local joints, and a place that's massive usually has to suffer somewhere along the way, whether it's service or the quality, whatever the prices. But wow, Texas Roadhouse, it gets just rave reviews on all aspects. I mean, and this is a site where they're not afraid to jump down the negativity route. If somebody makes a negative comment, it spirals, and you'll see like 100 follow, go, "Hey, that place is horrible, I'll never go back there." Universal, man. Texas Roadhouse, loved by everybody. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's a special place, and the culture is again amazing. I mean, they train everyone, and if you don't love working at Texas Roadhouse, you won't be working there, because they want people who care and love about it. So
it's great. Yeah. I don't know that Ed wants people sitting on the bar though the entire day. I mean, you got to turn some seats over.
Turn them out.
Hey, man, if you
have a beer and get out of here, go watch the game over at Brews Room or something.
If you keep buying beers and getting more food and buying beers for everybody at the bar, they don't care how long you sit there, as long as the money keeps coming in.
You're on a roll today, kid. So we're going to come back with more here with Tony Segreto, and I'm hoping you're going to make it down there, because it's not, the date isn't official, but the thing's happening. With Jimmy Johnson and the debut of his book coming out with Dave Hyde, and we're all going down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill on mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. We can't say enough good things about it, because wow, it is just a great place. And John Kajemi,
that pizza you talk about.
Oh man, you have to have that, Tony. It has your name written on it, man. The Italian Fisherman. I don't know that you're much of a fisherman, but you don't have to be, because everything that could possibly come out of the sea is on this pizza. It's great, man.
I can't wait.
Live crabs are crawling across it. It's absolutely fantastic. No, it really is.
SpongeBob on it? Is SpongeBob
innovation
on it somewhere walking around?
They have everything, man. Everything but a starfish, I mean, is part of the fanfare there. All right, they're coming back with more. Here with Tony Segreto, a little old school. Also brought to you by Catholic Health Services. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest, and back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time
Oh, and our Believe podcast, too. I have to mention, Ian Eagle, I believe, is today's guest. And then,
Fridays.
Friday. Okay.
Thursday, Brandon Lang. Today, John Feinstein.
John Feinstein, man. Always great. John
Also.
Feinstein. He'll have some thoughts on Serena. I want to get your opinion on that, too, Tony. They had every king there, though, what we were saying. They had Gail King. They had Billie Jean King. And I think Don King should have been promoting this thing the way they, created the whole atmosphere.
And trust me, DraftKings was there too.
DraftKings was there, and I had Serena going down at plus 290.
By the way, do you use DraftKings?
No, I don't mess with this stuff. Tony, you know me. I'm, dealing with Louis the Lip for forever. I mean, if I turn my back on a lip at this point, what kind of human being would I be? Back with more in a moment. We're old school. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
When the Lip calls every Monday and says, "You got my money?" I'm like,
See,
Lip, your voice has changed.
Here in Vermont, Louis doesn't have a house.
DraftKings. Yeah, I suppose, when they start sponsoring the show, I'll definitely do all of my, wagering on DraftKings or FanDuel. It's 8:24.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Your bookie have an app, though? Everything's on an app.
No, he only deals with me.
Well, I mean, what did you do for this man? Did you break him out of prison?
I was going to say, what does that mean?
What did you do? Did you get him off some rap? He was with
like,
El Chapo. He was about to do life, and you called him attorney on his behalf.
I'm like Costanza with the password for his bank account in that episode. I'm going to go to my grave with that.
Exactly.
Wow, I mean, you do get very generous odds. I would have to say. No, I mean, that would be all anybody that was a sick degenerate like we are ever dream about is getting better prices than anybody else. Various ball games. So we'd still find a way. We'd still find a way to lose.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Now, welcome back to the show. Great to be with you here. Old School with Tony Segreto on the Wednesday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, South Florida Live, many other platforms, and always great having Tony on the show. Now, I know you would be one who would enjoy this, and let me sort of clarify my position here before you attack me, Tony Segreto, for being a cynical old Jewish bastard.
You are. You are. It's got to be tough to be you.
No, there's a reason for
when
it.
You
there's
smile,
a reason for it.
Can we hear your face crack when you smile? Can we hear it?
I'm happy about it. Look, I would not argue that the ceremonial part of what took place there on Monday night in the U.S. Open with the announcement that Serena has made kind of vaguely, but everybody's concluding that she means she's going to retire and this will be her last tournament. Now, she's played a brilliant career, had a tremendous impact, overcame a zillion, just tremendous, overwhelming obstacles, including, a very humble start there. I mean, you don't see too many players off the streets of Compton coming in a sport like this, in tennis, and and being black on top of that, women, and achieving the greatness. As we've been saying, Venus, who got knocked out in the first round, also very unceremoniously. If it was only Venus that we were talking about among the Williams sisters, her career was brilliant enough to deserve this kind of homage there at New York and in the U.S. Open. So, no argument with that. Now, is Serena playing beyond the time where, this is always a debate, Tony, about, how long should an athlete hang on?
Agreed.
I mean, it's an individual sport, so she's not hurting a team. She's obviously a giant box office draw because they sold the place out. Tickets were going for thousands of dollars, and every celebrity that ever was even in like a B grade, movie, a triple X movie, everybody was there in the crowd. I mean, as you said, and a fitting tribute to a great athlete, maybe the greatest female athlete of all time. Certainly, worthy of being in that conversation. But I turned, into a, somebody that just rooted against Serena on every point. I mean, a disgrace. The sore loser thing just really got to me after a while, Tony. And some would say, well, she's a fire. Everybody was always trying to justify boorish bad behavior on the part of Serena Williams that wouldn't be tolerated by anybody else. And they were always trying to justify, like, oh, well, look, what she's overcome, or she's battling for women, as she's telling some poor woman who probably some schlep that was a cleaning lady in the daytime and was a line woman at night, line judge at night. She's going to shove a ball up her ass. And then that thing with Osaka, I mean, she sent her into some kind of psychological tailspin with that ridiculous performance when she was like Trump, claiming she won the U.S. Open. That it was, if it were not for the officials and the chair umpire, she got completely hosed. And this is in a sport that, I mean, boxing always, one of the things I love about it, two guys are beating the shit out of each other for 12 rounds, and then they hug each other afterwards, and they have great respect for each other. And tennis is like that, too. I mean, the greats really have, even if they lose, like, and you'll see, like, Nadal lose to Djokovic, and then very humbly express how great it was, to play in a match of that caliber. Serena never did that. I mean, she was always a sourpuss. So I soured on her, and I took a little bit of a dim view of what transpired there because, Tony, you of all people, I just don't like phonies. I don't know what you feel about that.
Well, there's two ways to look at it. Yeah, she could be a phony, and that's for her to live with, or she could have matured. And listen, who would have ever thought in your wildest dreams that you'd have John McEnroe in the booth doing analysis with Chris Evert, two completely different people who I thought, by the way, did phenomenal. I thought that they were both terrific. And that's what I was going to say, that whole package of Fowler and Evert and McEnroe. McEnroe was a complete knucklehead when he played. He was exactly what you just described.
Yeah, but people loved it because, he was from New York.
Yet you grow and you mature. And I'm not saying that she's not a phony. I'm just saying that, you know what, just it is.
But McEnroe was that, though. He was an asshole, and abrasive to the public and everything. That you would assume was part of his persona, the way he reacted on the court.
I just,
and he changed over time. Yeah.
We have been around athletes long enough to know that there are going to be lots of moments that aren't so good. And they're on a public stage, and sometimes they forget they are, and sometimes they just say, "Screw it, I'm who I am." But you hope over a period of time that they mature and that they listen. Alex Rodriguez was a complete ass when he played. I mean, he was. He
still essentially is a likable ass.
And maybe underneath all of the, but publicly now he's charming. He's affable. And now, is it just an act? It may be. Who knows? But it's not. I can't sit there and judge it. I can sit there and go, I didn't like that behavior, but now they seem to be acting different, so I do. But I still respect the opportunities that these people have given other people because of they were mavericks, trailblazers in their own right. So I tend to look beyond it. I don't disregard it. I didn't like it either. When she did that, when she acted like that, it was awful. Did you ever see Chris act like that? No,
you never would.
Never.
She's not that way.
But that's just their makeup. I mean, there were tennis. I covered women's tennis a lot, and there were some doozies that just would not. Just were angry women, or then covering men's tennis, angry men.
Well, it's the whole sheltered life thing that people talk about, where somebody's like 14 and they're being driven by some maniacal, parent or whatever. I mean, it's Little League syndrome.
Listen, you would agree with this, I believe. People would ask me, who are the worst people to interview? And I would say flat out tennis players.
Oh yeah,
Because
Ivan Lendl was no great pleasure when he was playing. I don't know if he's better now.
And not that they were bad people at all, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand it. It's just that they lived this solitary life. They didn't. They hit against if they weren't playing against their coach, they were hitting against a wall, and they were up by themselves. Nobody to interact with. They weren't team players. Their social skills were limited because they were so sheltered. And to get them to be, to get Ivan Lendl, plus Ivan Lendl's culture wouldn't allow him to be.
He was miserable.
He was.
He made Belichick look like he was
charming.
Vital. Yeah,
Belichick, exactly. Ivan was tough, man. He was.
I interviewed him once at a celebrity golf tournament. He was a good golfer, and
I remember.
He liked playing, and
he was a great hockey goalie too.
Some local course, they were having a tournament on. There were a lot of celebrities there, so I went out there to get some cuts from different people. And Lendl, he didn't want to have anything to do with you. Literally blew me off. Gave me a dirty look on top of it. Which it's one thing to blow a guy off, say, "Hey, really, not now. I don't have time to talk." But do you really need to give the guy the dirty look, Tony? You probably never got the dirty look.
Oh yeah, I did
in your career.
The
dirty look.
You know who was tough, but then grew into being a wonderful interview was Mark Spitz. Mark was always,
could be.
Spitzy was always difficult at the beginning, and then he just blossomed and became very comfortable. And,
it's all that chlorine that finally was out of his system.
Yeah, a lot of it is just that they're not. A lot of it is their ego, or they don't want to be bothered, and a lot of it is they don't want to be bothered because they're not comfortable. They don't like being put on the spot. They don't like having a microphone in their face.
All right, but what would you think though if Spitz was swimming and he was like 2 minutes behind the time that he was able to accomplish in his prime? That's the other thing with Serena that's working now is that should she even be playing in these events? No,
I don't know if she's
2-3 this year in singles matches, but she doesn't look anything like herself. No. In fact, when they show, obviously bodies change and everything over time, but she's been around for 20-something years, but
has had a baby,
doesn't look anything like she did, and she's out of gas in warm-ups now. If that girl does anything against her, she's out in the first round.
I found Chris's comments quite interesting. In fact, is saying that Chris
has her possibly winning the tournament. I love Chris Everett, but I thought she was really delusional there.
Chris was saying how it surprised her how well she was moving, and that's what struck me, that she was moving better than I expected to see her move.
Because they instructed this Kovacic to hit the ball right back to her, Tony. This was the biggest setup I think I've ever seen. I don't know. The Black Sox scandal didn't reek like this one did.
We have a commercial.
Who's running this sport? The World Boxing Council? She's an underdog today, though, Tony. If you want to play Serena against,
I would think
Annette Kontaveit, I think is how you say it. It might be Kontaveit, but Kontaveit is how I'm going to pronounce it. Number 2 in the world, which is a mystery because nobody knows who this girl is. She's number 2 in the world.
Yeah. What time is
and women's tennis, this match is going to be the feature match tonight, 7:00. Yeah. So you can tune in there. And I think, if she gets Serena into some longer rallies and moves her around a little bit, I didn't see her moving all that well. I thought she was going to pass out. I really did. I'm just playing with you, Tony.
He has like a thing. No, Dave Hyde, who's genteel and laughs and nice, and we've had him on for years now, literally was yelling at Defo, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?"
But see, they did the right thing because
listen,
they
I had
the
no
first round
idea.
was a setup, and that was it. And this was probably going to be the end for her.
So this is the old school show with Mike Lubitz, Tony Segreto, and Eddie Haskell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the way I feel, though, Tony. I really just...
That's a tough way to live, man.
It bothered me.
I love it.
It's not like this on everything. It's just Serena and Saban are the two things that he just...
Two things get me going.
Won't get over.
And I'm a great admirer of Serena's career. Brilliant.
I hope she wins.
Brilliant.
I just hope...
Well, put some money up then, Tony. You're getting...
I'm not saying she will.
Plus 170 with Serena Williams, 23-time Grand Slam champion, in a second-round match, which she never loses.
I swear I'll be on my damn knees.
Plus 170, Tony. I'll give you plus 170 at Texas Roadhouse. How about that?
Gosh,
Let's
gee,
bet
that's
this dinner.
big.
Let's bet the dinner. Let's
That's
do
big
it.
of you, man. That's really big of you.
Let's bet the dinner at Texas
I
Roadhouse.
hope she wins. Even if it's by default.
Hope. I mean, let's back it up with a
just
little
don't
bit of
even
conviction,
care.
Tony Segreto, like some capital.
Listen, she's playing the number 2 seed. Listen, I was happy she won.
This
the other
girl's
night.
been in a slump. What are you talking about? Contivate.
Let's
Who
go,
ever
boy.
heard of her? Nobody. I mean, is it Martina? No, she's playing somebody that is as nondescript a number 2 player in the world in any sport as anybody I've ever seen. Right? This is almost like the number 2 heavyweight contender when the Klitschko's had the championship.
Do you like puppies?
Tony, you're just not seeing the light here.
You
I
like
mean,
Do you?
can
Yes
go
or
off.
no?
You can go off on some desperate tangent with an animal comparison,
you
but
like
you have to be
puppies?
careful there when you're talking about Serena. Look what happened to that Adler guy. That's another issue. They could have come to this guy's aid and said, "Hey, we know he meant nothing by this comment," but nothing. Silence
What?
from the Williams sisters. Silence. Unbelievable. Venus was included in that one too, and I like Venus. I do like Venus. All right. Tony Segreto, old school here. A lot of stuff happening, including this is interesting, Tony. Your Miami Dolphins are cutting players that we recognize the names of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not because they want to save money on the salary cap. It's because they have too many good players. Is that not a strange circumstance?
We'll find
Tony
out.
Segreto?
We'll find out, won't we? There was great excitement how Tua started the game last week, and there's excitement playing the Patriots at home.
Are you going to that thing? Are you coming back to town for the home
I
opener?
will not be in town for that game. I will not.
All right.
I'm coming into town the week after that game, and then I'm going to the Texas A&M game, and probably
that's right.
another. Yeah. So, but I will not be in town.
Will
for
you
that.
be traveling on a Miami team plane to the Texas A&M?
No, because I'm representing Orange Bowl. So
they have their own private plane. Nice.
No, so we can't. We do. We have our own Learjet. Flying right in. So we're flying right in with
some little airport. Not even it's like a cornfield.
We got great caviar and wine being served.
Nice. It's only in style. For Tony
and we're
Segreto.
gonna watch highlights of Serena.
Exactly.
I think this will be the last highlights of
We're
Serena.
going to watch her greatest hits. What else? Who else are you cynical about?
You should bet on Serena tonight, though. You have this feeling, Tony. I mean, when you get this,
is there a conspiracy? Where else?
Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban will be the other thing. I root for him to lose every game.
We'll have different screens on, and
I'm going to make a case for Utah State here in a minute. Tony, if you keep talking about Nick.
Hey, you know what game?
Let's talk about somebody good, though.
No, you know what game I do like?
What's that?
Game I do like? I like. Look it up real quick because I looked at it yesterday. Illinois, Indiana. Is Illinois a 3-point favorite?
What day is that? Saturday?
Yeah, is Illinois a 3-point favorite? I believe.
Not readily recognizable here on my sheet. Here, it's a Saturday game. You're saying?
Indiana's laying 3. Indiana's laying 3.
Yeah, so I love Illinois. I love Illinois in this one. So I think I'm going with that one.
All right, save that thought. We'll get into some logic here, but I know somebody else that you love dearly, and for great reason.
Catholic Health Services. How can you not love them?
Nice.
How can you not listen? I want to put it to you this way, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who have been with us on Old School since we started with Catholic Health Services, who has been a stalwart supporter, they believe in what we do, and we believe even more in what they do.
Yep.
But Catholic Health Services, even Jeff DeForest, Mr. Cynical, the living, breathing
I recognize greatness
of Grinch, Mr. Grinch, he even likes Catholic Health Services. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about Catholic Health Services? Just his testimony alone, when his glass is never half full, he tells you he likes Catholic Health Services. That tells you something right there, because this is no joke. These are amazing people who are not just skilled in what they do, but they love what they do. And there's a difference. You could be really good at what you do, but if you don't like it, and if you're not into it every day, then you're just anybody else working at it who's got a skill, who's like not really taking advantage. But they love what they do. And because of that, they make people feel so special every single day when they come into their facilities for whether rehab or whatever it is they need, that it makes them the extraordinary place in South Florida. They are the number one destination in the Southeast for stroke rehab, but it goes well beyond that. Listen, you can go anywhere, any rehab facility, and get the latest and greatest, newest machines and everything, the therapists and everything, but you're not going to get that loving care where the family's involved, the family's communicated with 2 and 3 times a day, and more often than not, the patient is back on their feet better than they ever could have thought they would have been. So I ask you this, Catholic Health Services is part of our community. They're always at different events. They're here to help you. Even if nothing is wrong with you, but you have a question, we have this new shot coming out, this new booster, this Omicron booster. When is it available? Am I in line to get one? If you have questions like that, give them a call, set up a relationship with them so that, God forbid, you do need them, they're going to be there for you. They're just as much into being proactive and keeping you healthy as they are being into reactive and getting you back to being healthy if you're not. Catholic Health Services, trust me when I tell you, even Jeff likes them.
Yes.
No,
yes.
great place. I mean, it took care of everything, and it was a radical departure from the treatment that we were getting. Where, I mean, if you want to, experience exasperation, just talk to anybody in the healthcare business. By the way, this just
We're
came
going through
across,
that now.
Tony, a breaking news item that Kovanik, who played Serena in the first round, she's now being coached by Red Klotz from the grave. I mean, she may as well just sign with the Washington Generals, Tony. What the hell is that? All right. We'll get into some pro football with Tony Segreto. Interesting start to the season. Bills-Rams.
Yeah.
We're looking at a Super Bowl preview.
Yeah.
In week number 1 on the opening night with the Amazon feed there of the Bills and Rams on a Thursday night. All right, coming back with more Old School with Tony Segreto here on the Defo Show in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I wonder what Feinstein thinks about the whole Serena thing. It's 8:45. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
We've finally found some fulfillment here on this program as we're sending 2 families to professional wrestling, and we had that kid skip school to get the tickets to the Dolphin game. We feel like we're reaching a measure of distinction here. Now, there's no more distinguished guy in broadcasting history than the man who joins us next, and that is Tony Segreto. We go old school with Tony Segreto.
He makes charitable work, his life work, so he's mocking us now for what we are proud of, our endeavor.
I am not mocking.
I am not. I'm not mocking you. I just don't even know how to respond to that because I would not have expected anything less than that kind of intro today. When I heard that gentleman win the tickets to the wrestling and that he's taking his children, I saw the wheels. I saw the comedy writer in Defoe's head, like trying to write as fast as he could, just to figure out what's next.
I have to write
that's
everything
really
down now,
funny.
Tony, because I can't remember my own name. It's written here on a sheet, the Defo show.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto.
We've the sickness, the dementia. It goes along with this program.
I'll tell you what, man.
How
you
we
could
got Tony associated with this, with Texas
I love
Roadhouse
it.
and Catholic Health Services,
I have
is
no
beyond the
idea.
scope. Yeah.
What is this? We have a comment from Julian who goes, he never holds back, even with legends like Visser and Segreto.
Yeah.
Holding back, he just wants to stir the pot. He knows it'll get everybody revved up. That's all he wants to do. It has nothing to do with his convictions. It's all about.
No, I do feel that way.
I do?
I am rooting. I mean, I admire Serena's career, and I think she's worthy of all of the attention that she's gathering here. It's a little weird. I mean, there are a couple of debates I wanted to get into with you. They're hypotheticals and general sports debates, but definitely old school. And that is, I mean, being a boxing fan, you always hated it. Like when my man Danny Little Red Lopez decided to come back and fight Salvador Sanchez again, and then 3 years later makes a comeback at some armory in Teaneck, New Jersey, and you're thinking, what is this guy doing in the ring? How could anybody sanction this? But
now, by the way, there's a sport, boxing, where they don't put stiffs in with someone to beat them up?
Never.
Of course they do. I mean, that's why I said Don King. He should have been there instead of Gail King. I mean, the way that they set this thing up.
I think that one of the things about athletes,
but guys hang on too long. I mean, that was the thing.
I was going to get,
and that's what I'm getting to here.
One of the things that I remember when I was born in 1950. That was the year that DiMaggio retired. And being of Italian heritage and living in Italian neighborhoods, in New Jersey, it was all about the Yankees and Joe D. It was all about Joe D, and that's how they referred to him, Joe D. And I remember being told how DiMaggio was really still in the prime of his career, really was very aware of not letting his skills go and having people go, uh-oh, he's getting old.
Look what happened with the Mick. He regretted it. Sticking around.
He did, and that stuck with me. And I look at a lot of athletes. In fact, I felt the same way in making my call about what I did, because it was very similar to what we do. Not so much on this kind of platform, but on TV, it's very similar to that of an athlete. If you get old, if you lose your skill set, they're going to get rid of you. It's just the way it is. So I think that a lot of athletes, it's a shame to see. I remember watching the Mick just not being able to move around, even Yogi to a point, not being able to move around. That when they become a shell of themselves, and it's that I think it's the competitiveness. They love the roar of the crowd. They love that energy before a big game. But boy, oh boy, I was at Ali's last fight.
Oh, geez.
To this day, I still get a stomach ache because
I was
I
at
watched
that Larry Holmes fight. It had money on Holmes at 6-5, which I couldn't believe it. It was horrible to watch. It really was.
I get paydays and all of this stuff, but
they don't need paydays. That's my problem. Look, I and people have shouted. Mayo has said this. We've had some other people. When you're that great, leave when you want. You've earned it.
You should be able to make the call. Absolutely.
But as a fan, to me, and someone who covers these sports and has watched them my whole life, I also have the right to be sad when they go too long. I have the right
without question.
Look at Brett Favre with the Vikings and then Brett Favre with the Jets. I have a right to look at Dan Marino, who never got there. Yeah, it wasn't his prime self in that Jags loss, but they did make the playoffs. He did have a good year. He at least wasn't a total disaster. Like, he didn't go to Minnesota. He didn't do the Namath. He didn't do the Johnny Unitas. Like, some of these, Peyton Manning that last year, like, they won a Super Bowl, but he had nothing. Defoe's joke is it really felt like they were rolling him out on a freaking wheelchair in that freaking season. Like it gets sad to me. And I get they're allowed to do what they want, but as a fan, I'm allowed to watch going, I wish they wouldn't. I
I
wish.
agree with you.
Although we
agree
thought
with
Brady
you.
was there, going back
Yeah.
like 10 years already. Lubie and I. in this thing.
Yeah. I mean, you know what was interesting? I thought Brady looked when he was doing the press conference, and he was fine. There was nothing wrong with the press conference, but he looked older. All of a sudden, he started looking 45.
Well, because of Giselle. I mean, look what's going on.
He didn't. But I think that there are certain most athletes, man. They have trouble. I'm not going to mention names, but I can't tell you how many people in my industry have called me that I've helped because they didn't want to leave, but they felt they had to. Like
when they come with the buyout,
they were
usually
they were struggling. They were struggling with it because of the notoriety, the popularity, whatever the case might be. But I agree with you. I think athletes hanging on too long, and there's going to be. Listen, I agree with you with Serena about did she hang on too long? We're going to to hobble around a court. It's not good for you. It starts. You don't want the lasting legacy of that athlete, especially.
That was a terrible match.
Around a court.
Honestly, Tony, I mean, for the people that paid all this money, and I know it was. I'm a big fan of the salutation. I believe that at the end of the season, the fans should stand up and applaud, and especially if somebody's going out the door after a brilliant career. I'm a big fan of the salutation. I believe in it 1,000%. But at the same time, I mean, if you're really looking at it, that was a crappy match. I mean, it was poorly played. Serena, at one point in the second set, actually showed like a brief flash of what she once was, and you were like, "Whoa, yeah, that's it." But she can't sustain it anymore. So it's clear that she needs to move on to whatever else she's going to evolve. I wanted to get into this though, just because what we're seeing this thing with Aaron Judge, where people are trying to figure out, are we going to acknowledge that he broke the record of Roger Maris, which I always consider the record, but nonetheless, the record is 73, Barry Bonds, and you can't deny that because all of these records counted during the steroid era, and it is remarkable too. You talk about an oversight. How is Victor Conti not known as one of the greatest scientists of all time? I mean, up there with anybody, guys that came up with nuclear fission to get, I mean, he put the performance in performance-enhancing drugs. Nobody's come close to this without this shit in their system. It's amazing. But I would like to think that Judge is chasing a legitimate record of 61, but I mean, it's not there.
I believe he is.
Where do you land on that debate? I mean,
that's where I am on that debate. I believe he's chasing 61, all right. Well, I think for a couple of reasons. If he wasn't a Yankee, he wouldn't be chasing 61. He'd be chasing 73.
Okay. All right.
That's what I believe. I believe being a Yankee and having him become the Yankee that he's become,
team record becomes the record
that he's chasing Maris. And in fact, when he hit 40, he hit his 40th. I texted my son and daughter. I go, the chatter's going to start. Can he get those 21 more before the season ends? And how fitting for a guy who bet on himself to get a new contract.
Very rarely do you win in these circumstances.
Yeah, boy, he has been as consistent as you can be.
He's all they have at this point.
And they got guys hurt and guys who are just not hitting, and it's just absolutely insane. But I think that's where I land on that 61 for me. For sure.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be recognized as such. I mean, maybe in the New York papers.
I think the New York paper. I think for Yankee fans, I think I may have mentioned it to you. In 61, I was at a doubleheader where Maris hit 2 home runs, 1 in each game.
I love that season. Still among my favorite baseball seasons.
My favorite baseball season
I
of all
was
time.
like 10 years old, and it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Maris and Mantle going back and forth. Everybody was a Mick fan, so to be a contrarian, as you might imagine, even as a kid, I was a big Maris fan, and I was rooting for him to do it. No great reason. I just, kind of liked the quiet way he went about his business. And he was
Roger.
a real good fielder. I mean, underrated as a defensive player.
Great arm. What an arm he had.
Man, he was right up there with all of the greats, Clemente and anybody that had a big arm out of right field. But when I was rooting for Maris, and so I remember that and went back and forth, and then the Mick got hurt at the end of the year, so we sort of dropped down of the race, and people were rooting against him, Roger Maris. It was amazing. Even Yankee fans that didn't want him to break the
Now, you know
Bambino's
what?
record.
See, there was a guy who was terribly misunderstood. He did not do interviews well, did not like doing interviews, and he was terribly shy. And once he got away from it, I remember talking to him. I did an hour interview with him at the Diplomat when after he retired. He was wonderful. I mean, really kind of took the curtain back. Couldn't have been better. But it's funny because I would have. I was not a lefty hitter. I was a righty hitter. So, but man, oh man, I don't know of a young man
297, yeah,
who wouldn't get in front of a mirror and try to either be Mickey Mantle, mimic his stance, or maybe even Ernie Banks, who had that really interesting and different kind of stance.
Mine was Vic Power, where he waved the
Yeah,
bat
Vic
with one
Power
hand.
with
Vic
the
Power
with the swinging,
and all that. Yeah.
with the swinging pendulum. Yeah. So I think that those iconic baseball players were something that we all.
Richie
mimicked.
Allen was another one. Yeah, you tried to imitate his stance. Richie Allen.
Yeah.
Of the Philadelphia
Yeah.
Phillies. All right. Well, Tony, nobody
Yeah.
can imitate what you did here in the news and the sports business, and you're still doing it, which is great. And I know we disagree a little bit on the Serena thing, but that's okay. That's
what makes it fun.
Yeah.
That's what makes it fun. This is one of the things.
You didn't think the Iron Sheik was coming into the ring when she
I
came in
thought
there with
maybe.
the sparkles and everything?
This is what I find, and I've
Yeah.
told people this pretty much as far as I can think back. One of the beautiful things about sports is that you and your best friend can be diametrically different about how you feel about a certain sport or about a certain player or an athlete, and you can have vigorous and active debates, but it never gets to where it's personal. You never
ain't
get to
personal,
where
Tony.
No, you
It's
never
sport.
get to that point. It's just all about respect, and you could have a lot of fun with it. And this is what makes our show so great. It's just candid, and we let it fly, man. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Dick McAuliffe, great point by
Yeah.
our good friend Andy. I mean, he had the weird bat thing
Yeah.
up there in the air.
Yeah,
and
he
everybody
was
tried
like
that.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. And another guy, Rico Cardi. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
Rico
I
Cardi
remember
of the
Yeah,
Braves.
I love
Man,
Rico Cardi.
everybody
How
trying
about Rod
to be
Carew?
Rico
Got
Cardi.
crouched to it. Rod
Carew was a tough one. I
really-
saw a lot of Rod Carew when I was covering the Angels when he was
Yeah, man.
with the
I
then
loved,
California Angels.
mimicking those stances, and Ernie had that elbow up, man. His right elbow was up. And,
Oh, and Joe Morgan, of course, with the
Yeah,
elbow flap.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
another one. All right, Tony. Nobody, like I said, nobody can do a
Thanks,
Tony
Tony.
Segreto
Love you.
impression. You made Ann Bishop feel older than she was when you came into the news racket there, and she
No
said,
way.
"No, not him." And
No,
all of a sudden, the
no.
ratings started to plummet there on ABC. Fantastic job by you, and thanks to Catholic Health Services, Texas Roadhouse.
Enjoy the football.
Is it a bet or not? Is it official? Texas Roadhouse dinner. Whoever loses, I mean, you get Serena, and I get this contest.
You got it.
It's
But also,
Roadhouse.
I'm going
Straight
so
up.
I'm going with Illinois,
Okay,
Okay.
that's a play. That's a play.
and obviously UM. But that's off the
Yeah.
books.
You want to
What
make
is
it a
it,
parlay,
31
and I'll
points,
take LSU
31 points?
over FSU because I
That's
believe in a
31
professor.
And I'm going to go with FSU
All right,
over
sounds
Brian
good.
Kelly.
Tony, you look great, kid. We'll look forward to
Feel
talking
good,
to you again
man.
next week. Always a
All right.
pleasure, my friend.
Talk to you guys soon. Love you
All
guys.
right. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. I knew he wouldn't buy my Serena shtick.
No, it's great. Of course. Who no one does.
I'm going to run it by Iron Eagle and John
100%.
Feinstein. You
Definitely.
know that's got to be a part of the protocol there on our
Obviously.
Believe podcast. Catch both of those cats on our Believe
That's this
podcast. That's coming up the next few days. And Brandon Lang also going to be a part of that thing. So we'll get his handicapping expertise and unique way of illustrating the rationale behind his picks. Always involves a transvestite, doesn't
Yes.
it? Or it's just a tranny now. I mean, the transvestite is like talk about old school. I could probably get sued, if we're even using the word. All right, we will see you later on. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox live from Las Spada's Original Hoagies, Lauderdale by the Sea. That's Commercial Boulevard, just west of Seagrape, which was the location that was originating in, and it was a classic, right? You used to see the line out the door there, and it was down the block. It was always great around lunchtime. So we'll be in there for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox later on here on South Florida Live. And until then, don't miss our Believe podcast. That's BLEAV Networks. And you can find our interviews coming up with Iron Eagle. It'll be on Friday. Brandon Lang and the great John Feinstein. That's all straight ahead this week on Believe. And we'll see you tomorrow at 7 with a Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge as we leave it on that.
The time.
That'll involve Dave Gurgles Gurgley. It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they got.